Hello, can you hear me, guys? Hello. Okay. Uh, Thank you so much for being here. We'll start in few minutes. Thank you so much for being here. We'll start in few minutes. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, I wasn't speaking anything. Okay. Yes, and also apologies for the background noise. There was a construction which is happening, so sorry for that. And can everyone see my screen? Hello. Okay, thank you so much. Once again, a warm welcome, and thanks for taking your time and attending this webinar. My name is Devendra Veligandla. So in this session, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about SharePoint Online development, which is basically for Office 365. This is again like I just chat before. This is for beginners and who doesn't know how to get started with SharePoint Online development. So we'll see like how we are going to set up the development environment. Then we are going to develop simple add-in. We'll see what is the differences between SharePoint hosted add-in and provider hosted add-in. Then we will go through the list of questions. So we have a lot of questions from you guys. So I'll try to answer as much as possible. Okay. So this is about me. I mostly work on SharePoint online development, Office 365, and I have been working with Microsoft from last 9 years, and I have been MVP for last 3 years. Okay, and if you want to read anything about the updates which I blog, which is going to be at sharepointjourney.com. So like I said, the agenda would be we will have an introduction, then we'll set up Office 365 development environment. Then we're going to build an add-in. So we will go through the questions, and if you still have any additional questions, then we will be going through those questions as well in this particular session. So one of the main drawback or the holding you back to develop SharePoint Online applications, not having proper environment, doesn't having access to the environment, because most of the time this is one of the case where you wanted to work on Office 365 but you don't have any option to do that. And also you never worked on any virtual machines, or you don't know how to create one of them in Azure, then this session is for you. And also most of the time we don't get MSDN licenses, right? So if you are one of them, then you will find this one useful. Then like I said, you may not touched Azure before, so we will see how quickly we could create an VM that will be useful for SharePoint Online development. Okay. Can you hear me, huh? And the other one is we always look for a development environment, because when I started with MOS 2007, that was 2008, and we always used to struggle with the development environments. Even nowadays, we always try to get the environments which are required to learn SharePoint Online development, or as well as SharePoint on premises. It's always struggle, but with Office 365, thanks to Microsoft, where we have an option. They released one of the program which we are going to see quickly, where you could develop, set up an environment quickly. We'll see that in like within half an hour, you have environment up and running where you could start practicing it. Because most of the time, like I said, most of you also have experienced where you don't have enough memory or disk space, whatever it is, the machines. And if you want to practice those concepts, you always need to invest a lot of money. And not only that, you might need to struggle with the time as well that you need to spend. Sometimes even I have been through those situations where I stuck, like while I was trying to configure, and I'm not expert in administration, so I always struggle with some of those configurations sometimes. But now things are improved a lot, quite a lot. So So we're going to see that quickly. So if you want to set up Office 365 development environment, I think most of you have been seeing like you can sign up for Office 365 trial. So let me quickly go through that. So I would always suggest go with Office 365 E3 trial, where you could set up your own trial account, which is free for like 30 days. And okay, so if I go through here, it's $20 per month, but you can always go for free trial. It's gonna take few steps where you can fill some of those details and get Office 365 tenant ready for you. Okay, so let me show you. So here I already did those steps. Okay, and once you complete those steps from filling the company information or your email details and all those things, so then you will see the screen. Then once you complete those details, then you can go to the admin section. Okay, where you have all the different options that you could see, right? So if I go here, once after setting up the Office 365 tenant within the admin center, okay, let me scroll down further. So you see a lot of other options where Exchange, SharePoint, Azure AD. So some of you are asking what is Office 365 and what is SharePoint Online. So Office 365 is like complete package where you get all these things, not just the SharePoint. Because when you are a SharePoint developer, you always think that, hey, Hong, could you please check your settings? I think the other folks are able to hear properly. If you don't mind, could you please check again? Yeah. Or maybe try to rejoin. So whereas for the Exchange guys, it will be most of the times Exchange Online, because these two, or even the SharePoint or Exchange itself, is like huge products where a lot of things are happening. So Office 365 is package of all these things, which are available as software as a service. That means you pay something on monthly basis, and Office 365 will be maintained by Microsoft, right? Whereas in case of on-premises, this was the other question that was asked. So in case of on-premises, it is like my house where I have to maintain everything, right? So I need to install all the servers, and if there is any issue with on-premises, we need to have support engineers who need to fix all those things. But whereas SharePoint Online, Office 365, everything will be managed by Microsoft, so you don't have to do anything. And when you see the SharePoint section here, you always get from this particular section. Okay, let me log in here. Okay, sorry for that. So SharePoint Online, it's mostly from starts with SharePoint site collection. Okay, it's not on top of that. So Office 365 gives like, okay, what is it? Okay, let me try to join from here. Okay. So you see here, this is, we call it as like SharePoint Admin Center. So this is where the SharePoint starts with. But whereas in on-premises, you get a lot more than this. You have more control and here it will be always starts with these are the site collections. Site collections are nothing but group of sites. But whereas in on-premises you have servers and you're going to manage everything, service applications and everything. Okay. So once you set up the Office 365 trial, then you have something called here Azure AD. Okay. So once I click on that Azure AD, I'll be redirecting to the Azure portal. Okay. If you are doing this for the first time, then you will be asked to register. Okay. So yeah, I'm speaking, Hong. Okay, so if every Office 365 tenant will come up with, within the backend, you'll get Microsoft Azure. Okay, then it says like, if you want to access Azure, then you have to fill all these details. Let's say I have filled my details, which is about me. Okay, I just selected the country where I live, then my first name, last name, then my email, and the organization is optional. Then once I complete that, I have to enter the number. Okay, so once I enter the number, let's try to enter. So it's going to send a text message where you could verify that. So once you verify that, okay, then you can sign up where you have to enter your credit card details. But this is free for 30 days again, the Azure. So okay, it says like it's creating the subscription. So in this case, I have already, I mean, the details were already submitted, so it didn't ask for any other information. But usually when you're doing for first time, after those two steps, it's going to ask for filling those card details. So you can enter those details. Then once everything is done, it's going to take you to this page where everything is configured behind the scenes. For you, I have already logged in. Okay, so let me go back here. Let me minimize this. So this is the other one which I have already configured, and I have a VM also here, which is SP Online. But how you're going to create a new VM from Azure? So once you go to this portal, okay, so you can always go to this virtual machine section, and here this is again free trial. Okay, so here I can just type Visual Studio. Okay. Nothing is available, so let me try again. I'm trying to do classic. Okay, let's try here. So you will have, oh, what is that? Okay, let's try the new one. So it's going to show me the set of predefined templates which I could create. So let's try again. Oh, sorry for that. Let's click add. So now as I type, yeah, I should have clicked on add before. Okay, so now here I get Visual Studio Enterprise 2015. Most of the times, this is one of the questions that was asked. how I can practice on my desktop itself if I don't have enough memory and all those things. So this is what you could do. So here I'm gonna just select Visual Studio Enterprise 2015 update 3. Then it's gonna show these two options where I could select from. So I'll go with the first one. And once I select, so it will give some of the description about that, and you can just click on create to create a new one. Okay. Why is it? Let's click on create. It's asking to sign up for the new one because I didn't. Okay. Let's go back here and I'll type again the same thing. So here I have 2015 template. I'm going to select the first one. So I'll click create. Okay. So here it's going to ask me what is the machine name. So here I'll say the online demo. Then you can give a username here and password. So it should be so the password that you need. So just try to make it both are matching. Then select the free trial, like I said. And okay, let me select one more option. Okay, use the existing one. So I'll say SP Online here. And this is one of the important thing which you have to select, location. So I'm doing it from Philippines, Manila. So I have selected Southeast Asia. But if you are in India, select the one which is nearest to your location. If you are in USA, so select the one which is nearer to your location. So what happens is most of the time, this sometimes the maintenance happens during the night time. So yeah, it's going to be easy for you. So okay, I'm gonna click OK now. So okay, it says capacity. Okay, it's already using one. So let's try the other one. Okay, still doesn't. Let's try with UK. Because I have already one VM, which is already there, so that's why it's not allowing. But okay, once it goes to step 2, here it has a default recommendation. Okay, either I can go with the default recommendation, or if I have something, I can just click on view all, where I can see all these options. So here, anyway, I'm gonna go with the recommended option. So I'll click on select, and it's gonna validate all the options that I have entered. So it's gonna check the storage account, the network, and the other options. So once everything is fine, then I'm gonna click OK. Now here, it's gonna show all the options which I have entered. So I can just validate before clicking OK. So once I click OK, it will start creating the VM. So you can see that it's submitting the deployment, and the deployment is started. Within next few minutes, you will see the VM that will get created as well. Okay. So I have already a VM which I have created. So I'm going to open that. And I'm going to enter my username and password. So this is all, again, everything in Azure. So even if you have simple desktop, then you can just start practicing it. So here I have my Azure VM. So and when I look for Visual Studio, so I have already Visual Studio 2015 here. So once I set up everything in Azure, I get Visual Studio 2015. Then let me open that. So I have already installed here the developer tools. Okay, so before going to that, I'll just go back to the presentation. So we already set up the environment that is required. Like once I sign up for the trial, then I created a VM in Azure, right? And we have Visual Studio 2015 available. Now, now I have Visual Studio. This is for one set of development, which is basically for add-ins. But if you look at the new framework that was released by Microsoft, which is SharePoint framework, then you don't need the Visual Studio also, right? Uh, there are a different set of tools that you could use for SharePoint framework, but that is not something that I'm going to cover. But I'll be talking more about add-ins in this particular session. Okay, so we already created the VM as well. When it comes to add-ins, we have two kinds of add-ins which are available. One is SharePoint hosted add-in. The other one is provider hosted add-in. So the major difference between these two is, in case of SharePoint hosted add-in, you have everything hosted within your SharePoint. Okay, nothing external. So like we have already set up Office 365 trial, which we will get SharePoint Online. Now I can start building SharePoint hosted add-ins without configuring anything. But you still need to install SharePoint development tools. I'm going to send you the link later where you could download those and install it with Visual Studio 2015. But that's all you can do. That's all you have to do. So you don't have to configure anything, and you can just up and running, so you can build add-ins straight away. Whereas when it comes to provider hosted add-in, you have to do a lot more configuration. Okay, because provider hosted add-in uses the external, the code will be running outside of your SharePoint. That's why it is called provider hosted. Someone else is providing the hosting thing for your code. So that's why, where in case of provider hosted add-ins, you can write whatever the code you would like to. So you can use C#, you can use PHP or anything. But whereas SharePoint hosted add-ins, you are stuck with JavaScript, client-side code. You can't write anything server-side code on SharePoint hosted add-ins. That's the other major difference between provider hosted add-ins and SharePoint hosted add-ins. So let's say you get a requirement where you need to interact with SQL, other third-party solutions, then straight away you can look for provider hosted add-ins. Because that will have more secure when you do with C# code compared to the JavaScript. So I always advise go with provider hosted add-ins. But if you are developing simple kind of add-ins, for example, that you used to do with sandbox solutions, if you have ever worked, then those kind of things can be built in SharePoint hosted add-in. The other scenario where provider hosted add-ins will be more useful is, let's say this is one of the questions was asked. Let's say you are using forms-based authentication, then you might have already developed that application in ASP.NET, right? And you want to reuse most of the code in your add-in. You don't want to redevelop everything. Then that is the case where you go with provider hosted add-ins, not SharePoint hosted add-ins. I hope this has given a little bit idea or differences between SharePoint hosted add-in and provider hosted add-in, and when you have to choose what. Okay. So with respect to the tools and technologies with SharePoint Online development, if you are developing add-ins, then you should have Visual Studio 2015. But you have something else called Visual Studio Code. This is mainly for SharePoint framework, where you will be building client-side solutions. So why you need to have two methodologies or technologies here to develop solutions? In case of SharePoint framework, most of the things will work on the current user context. Okay, which is like, okay, let's say you have logged in, let's say Vikram logged in into SharePoint site, and whatever you develop in SharePoint Online or SharePoint framework will be run based on whatever the credentials Vikram has. But there are cases where you need more privileges, more access. Then those are the scenarios where you will be building add-ins. Okay, there are certainly scenarios where you still need to use add-in development. Okay, and with respect to the technologies, I don't have to stress enough here. It's always going to be the client side. So you need to know JavaScript. Or I say you should know JavaScript when you want to develop any solutions in SharePoint Online. And also with SharePoint framework, you need to know the TypeScript as well, because yeah, thanks, Hong. When you want to develop SharePoint framework, web parts using SharePoint framework, all those will be developed inbuilt using SharePoint TypeScript. So I would say you start learning TypeScript as well, or you should learn a TypeScript if you want to work on SharePoint Online framework. Because why framework has a lot of importance. Sorry, I'm jumping here on SharePoint framework, but I hope this gives an idea. You might have heard about modern team sites. So modern team sites uses SharePoint framework. Not only that, even the classic team sites will be used SharePoint framework soon. So if you want to develop any solutions going forward on client side, uh, you should look for SharePoint framework. Okay, maybe we can cover that in detail, probably in next month or in the subsequent webinars, which I'm going to do it in future. Okay, so you don't have to learn all the frameworks, JavaScript frameworks, because I know it's going to be challenging if you are just starting out. You might have heard about Angular, React, Knockout. I would still say start with JavaScript, okay, then move on to TypeScript slowly, and then move on to any one of these frameworks if you're just starting out. Okay, because you can still build a lot of applications with SharePoint add-ins itself, until unless you have specific project where you need to use Angular, or you have design specific to use Angular or React. Okay, then with SharePoint framework, the other tools that you need to have here is you need to have Node.js, and you need to have Gulp and Yeoman. So all these things. Okay, but like I said, just start with JavaScript if you're just getting started, and start with SharePoint hosted add-in. That's the best place to get started with SharePoint Online development. Okay, so we're going to develop very simple add-in, which I was talking about all this time. Then we'll see what are the different things that will be there when you create a simple add-in. So I'm going to go to the VM here. So I have already Visual Studio open here. Now I'll go ahead and create a quickly here a project. So when you install Visual Studio 2015, you might not see this option. Okay, under Office SharePoint, you may not see this web add-ins. So what you have to do is you have to install something called developer tools, which are compatible for Visual Studio 2015. So once you install that, then you will see this option. Okay, so let's leave this project name as it is, so you can change that at any time. So I'm going to click OK, which will give me an option where I can I just need to test this add-in. So this has to be a developer site collection. So what I mean by developer site collection, so I'll just go back here. I'll just show you what is developer site collection quickly. So within this site collections or my admin center, when I create a new site collection, so I get different templates here. So here I have to choose this particular developer site template. Okay. So if you want to develop in your local machine, not any other template. And the other thing is, once you create that, so you have something called apps here. So you have to set up app catalog. So what is this app catalog? Let's say you develop the application in your development environment, but you need to deploy that next test environment, then later you need to push it to UAT, then production. So ultimately, you're not going to run Visual Studio there, right? So you need to package your add-in. And once you package it, you're going to get the package, then you're going to upload it here, apps for SharePoint. So you have to create that, and you have to upload it here, so that that will be available for your end users. Okay. So let's say you have already a developer site collection created. And once I enter that, it's going to ask me to choose SharePoint hosted add-in or provider hosted add-in. So I'll go with SharePoint hosted add-in here. Then it will check what is the version you are working on, right? So here, I just need to enter the credentials. So let me get those information. So once it's successfully logged in, it's gonna show which version I am on, whether I am on SharePoint Online. But if you are in on-premises, this is gonna show, right? So once that is done, I'm gonna click finish. It's gonna quickly create a project. I'm sorry, for the SharePoint add-in. Prasad, could you please just reload it or adjust your quality so that you might see it? I think I'm still running the Hangout. So okay, once you quickly create this add-in, you get this solution along with one project. Okay, so you get the default.aspx page where you have a lot of JavaScript references here. Okay, and one of the important file is sp.js and app.js. So here you have all the logic that is available for this particular app. And you have a few more modules. If you want to have any images, you can add it. If you have style, you can add it here. And the script. And app manifest is where you could configure all the all the configurations for your add-in. So this is what I was talking about when I was comparing with SharePoint framework. So you can provide more permissions to your add-in, right? Rather than the user who is accessing the app. Okay, app will have its own identity. So this is basically a simple add-in that will get created. But obviously, when you are developing solutions, you're not going to use this, right? You want to do more. You might need to develop a list, and then you want to attach a workflow. So how you're going to do that? So you can, it's similar to the SharePoint solutions that you're going to develop. So you'll right click and click add and click new item. Then you will get a list of options or the templates that are available that you could add. So I have list, content type, workflow. So I'm not going to go with the best approach here, but where obviously if you want to develop solutions, sorry guys, you need to first create site columns, content types, then list. But you can always start with list itself. just for the purpose of this demo. So I'm creating a product list here. And when I click on add, it's going to show me what is the template I have to choose. Okay. So this will give list instance as well as list definition. But if I choose this option, I'm going to get just list instance. But I want the definition also. So I'm going to click finish. And then once it is created, I can go here on this list, right click, add a new item. Now I can add a workflow. So I'll say, I'm just showing you here. Sorry. We are not building any workflow, but I just want to show you how you could develop these things. So you could build a list workflow here or site workflow. And then I can associate this workflow with a list. Then, sorry. Then each workflow will be associated with workflow history list and the task list. Then I can just click finish. Sorry guys, just get me some water. Yeah, apologies for that. Okay, so here in SharePoint Online or within add-in, it's all XML code when you even build workflows. So that's what I was talking about. You're not allowed to use any C# code, right? It's all XML. If you see the lists, if you see the workflows, everything. Then once I am happy with this, then I can always right click and just deploy my add-in. So one more thing I want you to observe here is the output window here. So what happens when I try to deploy an add-in? So it's tried to install and it was skipping the uninstallation because nothing was available. Then it is uploading the add-in. Now the installation is progress. So after some time, this will be installed automatically to my developer site collection, where I can just go ahead and test this particular add-in. Okay. So hopefully this is not going to take too much of time, but for the sake of time, so what I'll do is I'll just go back to the slides and we will go through some of the questions and we'll come back to this and I'll show you what we have done here. Okay. So hopefully you can still see my slides. So one of the question Dinesh and Algappan was asked is there any free environment that you could try for development? So you have already seen what we could do with SharePoint Online and Office 365, right? And everything was just on Azure VM, and I don't have to install Visual Studio on my local machine, right? So you can just use your desktop computer, Algappan, and start doing the development of SharePoint Online. So that's the beauty of SharePoint Online development. Okay. The next question from Vignesh is, okay, he said that only way to produce custom solution is by using JSON. And I know how to use JSON for simple functionality, but will you please explain how we can have multiple context.load in a single call? If yes, what is the order of execution? As jQuery calls are asynchronous. For example, suppose I have a requirement where I have to call certain list to get the data based on that data, I have to query it again. So Vishesh, here, I mean, it's not only JSON, there are a lot of other options where you could develop solutions in SharePoint Online, like I discussed. You can use CSOM when it goes to provider hosted add-ins. So it's not just JSON, but Definitely with SharePoint hosted add-ins, yeah, JSON is the way to go. And with respect to your question, you can definitely have, yeah, I'll come back to that, Vikram, definitely, with the real-time examples. Sure. So here, you can always have multiple context.load. Let's say you have a scenario where you want to get the web information, then the list information. So you can always say context.load web, then you can always query the title of that web, then again you can load context.load, then list. So that's one basic example. And when you do a call, so all this, whatever the component or the things that you have loaded will be sent to the server and executed when you make one call. But if you want to make multiple calls, for example, you have a master list and child list where you want to fetch the details, depends on one call, you can use promises. So just look for promises in JavaScript or jQuery. And so once those promises give successful information, then you can always use, yes, you can always use Lambda expressions. That is one of the preferred way for the Lambda expressions, because you don't want to load all the information that you want from the list. For example, even from the web, let's say I want to get just the title of my website. So I shouldn't be loading just the context.load, then web. You always use Lambda expressions, then just get the title. Okay. Krishna was asking, I want to send automatic reports to an email from SharePoint Online. So how to achieve that? In on-premises, you have timer jobs. So what is the option for SharePoint Online? So Krishna, you don't have timer jobs in SharePoint Online because you are restricted with at site collection level, like I said. So what you can do is you have Azure, where you have something called web jobs, Azure web jobs, where you can build the solutions and deploy it in Azure, and then you can schedule those and send those emails. So you can always do that. Okay. I'm going to hold on these questions. I'll come back to here. We'll see what happened to our add-in. So it's already deployed here. I hope you can still see my VM here. I'm going to just open the VM, sorry, the site collection where it got deployed. Don't worry if you don't understand this language, but anyway. So here you can see that it's always going to display my default.aspx page, right? And you have a lot of other information. So why this is showing this default.aspx page, and why is it saying hello Devendra Veligandla? Because if I go back to the code, and if I go to this default.aspx, and you see this app.js, I said this is an important file. So what do you have this app.js? So if I go to this app.js within the scripts, I have JSON. Like Krishna said, this is one of the option to customize. So here I'm trying to force sp.js if it was not loaded. That is the importance of execute or delay until the script loaded. Then I'm getting the current context. Then I'm getting the current user. Then these are the variables I have declared. But if you see this document.ready, that's why it's so important to understand JavaScript or jQuery. Okay. So whenever my page loads, this page, the first function that will be called is get username. Okay. So once it is called, here I have this context.load. Okay. And then I have this execute query async. So which in turn calls two functions. On success, this will call get username success. On failure, it will call get username fail. And on get username success, yeah, could you please change the quality within YouTube video? So probably might be my internet connection. Apologies for that. So then again, I have here a $sign with this tag called message. So what is this doing? If you are new to jQuery, so this one is looking for a tag called hash message. So here, if I go to default.aspx, so this is the ID tag. Okay, the IDs will be identified with hash symbol. So it is looking for this particular tag, and it is trying to append the text value saying that hello, and what is the user title. My title is, when I subscribe here, I just entered Devendra Velikandla. So that's why you are saying Devendra Velikandla here. Okay, this is good, but where is my list? I created a product list, right? So why is it showing the default.aspx by default? So that's where the app manifest.xml file is very, very important. So here, if you see the start page, it was set to SharePoint add-in pages default.aspx, but not products, right? So what I can do is I can just remove this and type list / products. Am I typing the right URL? Okay, let me go back. Let's try. Oh, why is it? Oh, okay, my bad. So it has to be from the add-in. It has to be SharePoint hosted add-in. So let's try this. Hopefully this should open the list. There you can see, right? So other thing what I can do is I can use this URL and change it here. So I can just remove this default.aspx and pages and just type and save the changes. And this, I can always update the versioning. So let's say I can just say 1.1. Now you have upgraded this, right? It's still in the dev though, so I can just deploy it. So it's going to deploy the new version. When you open for the next time, it's going to open the list directly. And here you can see that it's trying to uninstall the add-in and it's retracting. So yeah, let's wait for this process to be completed. I'll go back to the questions again. Okay, the process is same. It's uploading and the installation is in progress. Okay, so let's go back to PPT here. Okay, there was one more question from Zabat. Where should I begin with SharePoint development? I have no prior experience in .NET or C#. Is it necessary to have experience in .NET before starting with SharePoint development? Okay, with SharePoint development now, if you would have asked the same question a few years back, I would have said yes. I mean, learning C# doesn't harm you because it's going to help you, especially with provider hosted add-ins, but it's not mandatory or prerequisite where you should learn C# or .NET. I would say start with JavaScript and build some of the add-ins. So, and even before doing the code, even the JavaScript, I would say explore whatever out-of-box features that SharePoint provides. You can build a lot of solutions, even for the clients, with just out-of-box features. You don't have to worry about even C#, .NET, JavaScript. So if you're just starting out, learn SharePoint features. That's what I strongly advise anyone who are getting started with SharePoint Online. I hope this answers your question, Zaba. Okay, there was one more question from Raghavendra. What will be the scope of SharePoint after 5 years? I want to learn SharePoint development since I have worked with SharePoint, but I didn't move to the code part. What are the key things which I need to do? Guide me in clear way. Okay, so there was a lot of rumors and misconception with SharePoint. What would be the future of that? But given that how Microsoft is going towards SharePoint framework, and you have SharePoint 2016, and SharePoint framework will be released. You have Microsoft Flow, and SharePoint Online is one of the major component in Office 365 package. So I don't see anything going away from SharePoint. So I would say, I mean, it's always hard to predict 5 years, but I still see that within 5 years, SharePoint will exist. Maybe hopefully after 5 years, you can ask me. Okay, there is one more question from Venkat Suresh. How to do master pages in Office 365? How customize pages with 3 column? Okay, this is one of the common question most of us have. Branding, because clients always try to ask, okay, please customize according to my needs rather than how SharePoint provides. So always the advice is don't build custom master page in Office 365. Okay, always the recommendation is use alternate CSS and themes to provide the look and feel for your clients. But with SharePoint framework in place, you will see a few more recommendations from Microsoft. But definitely that will be the way. With respect to the page with 3 columns, you could build page layouts using within the SharePoint Online itself. Okay, then you can just publish those. So yeah, it's going to be the similar approach if you have done with SharePoint 2013. Okay, there is one more question from Prastaya. He has a SharePoint Online application where users are logging with Active Directory, and he has ASP.NET web application with forms-based authentication. So he wanted to use the same application in SharePoint Online without changing much of those code. So I would suggest you could build with provider-hosted add-ins. So just hold on, guys. I'm just running out of battery, so I'll just charge it. So I would suggest you go ahead and build provider-hosted add-ins, and that would be the better way to reuse the code that you have already built in ASP.NET web application. I hope that helps. Okay, there is one more question from Ajam Javed. So I think we have covered this during the session, Azam. So you can revisit that. But how to determine which workflow solution to use? That's a very good question. So it always depends on the client, the requirements. So if you are building simple workflows, or it always starts from where you are starting. So if you are trying to build no-code solutions, I would prefer SharePoint Designer Workflows. And SharePoint Designer Workflows will be supported for another 10 years, even though you have Microsoft Flow. So I strongly advise SharePoint Designer Workflows still if you are not a developer. But if you are developing a SharePoint hosted add-ins, you can always go with Visual Studio Workflows that I have shown you how you could build. So yeah, it varies. Depends on. I just did that now, Srinivas. Thank you. So there is one more question from Suresh. How to work with PowerShell script in SharePoint Online? So in SharePoint Online, you might have heard about PNP PowerShell. So that's the easiest way to get started with. Just search for PNP PowerShell. So you'll get a lot of information. But if you have any specific questions on PowerShell script, please do let me know. I'm going to hold here and go back to the add-in that we have done. So I hope the installation was completed. Yeah, it's already deployed here. Sorry. I will go back and refresh this add-in. Now, oops, sorry. Okay, why is this not working here? So every time when I deploy in my local, this particular ID will change. Okay, so that doesn't happen when you package it and deploy it in other environments. So that's why it was failing. So now I am going to copy this and I'm going to open it in other tab. So here, as soon as I open that, it opens the products list directly. So that way you can always set whatever the page that you want to redirect the users when they're accessing your app. Okay, or add-in, sorry. I still call sometimes app, but now it's add-in always. Okay, I hope you can see the slides again. There was one more question from Yop. Can the videos will be seen lately? I don't have much time to see live video. Yes, I hope definitely. I'm going to provide the link that we have done now, so you can watch it later. Yeah. So if you have any other questions, so I'll just go through the chat quickly, where we have other questions from the beginning. Okay, I think we have answered for the page layouts, Suresh. So yeah, we did explain about the differences between Office 365 and on-premises. So if you still have any questions, just ping me here. Yep, SharePoint Online Pratibha is part of Office 365 package that you're gonna get. So okay, this session, Mohammed Tahir, is for the beginner. If you want more about Office 365, I hope you're asking about just SharePoint Online. Yeah, I'm gonna cover them later. Okay, and okay, the real-time examples, Vikram. In one of the applications I developed was we did a migration from Lotus Notes to SharePoint Online, and most of the applications or the SharePoint Lotus, the Lotus Notes ones, we have built it in SharePoint hosted add-ins. But whereas the other ones, the provider hosted add-in, let's say you have data in SQL or external applications, then I would prefer to go with provider hosted add-in rather than SharePoint add-in. Okay, Prasad, you can always use multiple Lambda expressions when you do the context.load. So you can have context.load multiple times. That means you can always use multiple Lambda expressions. Okay, thanks for the comment, Vikram. And with respect to the web parts, features, timer jobs, okay, I would still say those are not dead, but how you're going to develop is getting changed. If you are on-premises, because I can see a lot of clients still on-premises, but they're still using online. So I would say nothing was dead. But going forward, how you're going to develop web parts will change, because introduction of SharePoint framework is where you're going to develop client web parts. Everything will be on client side. But for the timer jobs, you have always alternate options. Like I said, you can always use Azure web jobs if you want to develop for SharePoint Online. Okay, I need some custom master page, especially for navigation. Prasad, if you want custom navigation or something, so I would still go with some components that you could use with um, JavaScript controls rather than just building custom master page. The problem with custom master page is if you're on premises, I would say yes, but if you're on Office 365, I would say no, because um, you won't get a lot of future updates if you have custom master page. But there will be recommendations from Microsoft with SharePoint framework. So yeah, um, so if you want to know updates, just look for Office blog where you will be having frequent updates there. Okay, with respect to the server side development, okay, it's kind of, if you're doing the provider hosted add-in, you could still use C# with client side, but server side, uh, I would say don't try to do everything on server side, given that you have a SharePoint framework. So I would say still try to learn SharePoint. Uh, what is that? The client side technologies. Start exploring those if you are get starting with. Yeah. Could you please more specific about the architecture which you are expecting, Prasad? Because architecture in Office 365, could you please ask more detailed one? Okay, Halima has one more question. Can you please suggest me which is the best option, best way to display weather info in my page? Is it necessary to add plugins? I think there are plugins, and with SharePoint framework, I think there were articles written by Walbeck. He is written a lot about SharePoint framework, so I would suggest you to look at that. But without plugins, I just need to check Halima. So I'll get back to you on this. I think Prasad, Vikram has an answer for you. No, Mohaya, I'm not going to cover provider hosted add-ins. Um, yeah, for this particular session. So it's just for the starting. So I don't want to get into the configuration thing because provider hosted add-ins will itself takes separate session where you have to configure a lot more things. Okay, the deck I'm gonna upload it, and probably I'm gonna send you the link. And I have sent a quick announcement in my email. So this is just for a couple more minutes. I'm not gonna take too much time. So I'm launching an online program which is called SharePoint School. So this is basically for beginners and advanced developers. So if you want to learn more about this, so you can go to uh, SharePoint School. So 1 second, I'm gonna just upload that. And this is, I mean, I'm just doing this for like for last few days. So and this training will be available for like 3 months, and whereas for the beginner it will be for 1 month. So as you join the webinar, there is an offer as well for next few hours. So if you would like to learn SharePoint from me, so you can enroll for that. But if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. So yeah. So before we end, do you have any other questions that I would like you to answer? Okay, Chandra, you can always start with PNP PowerShell. Then look for they have a, a package where you can just install in your local machine and start using the scripts. So that is the best place to start with. I'll just type it here. So I'll be available in chat and for another 10 more minutes on live. So if you have any questions, then you can ask me. And thank you so much for your time. And one more thing, guys, I just want to, I just have one more thing here. Um, just give me a second. So if you want to just leave a comment or give me a feedback, then just click on that particular link and tell me. Or so this is going to help me going forward how better we could do these sessions, because I'm planning to do this more frequently going forward, at least once in a month. uh, you might you might see these sessions from me. So I hope, if you have any specific questions or feedback how better we could do, yeah, it's going to take 5 seconds of your time. Please leave a comment. Yes, Hong. You can always use JavaScript in conjunction with the list forms, because within out of the box you may not, what I would say, you may not get everything based on your requirements. So you might need to provide validations, you might need to show and hide some of those fields. So you always need to use JavaScript or jQuery, I would say. And JS using Anup, I think I covered some of those scenarios for the add-ins. So please go ahead and watch the session again. It was covered. I just did a few scenarios specifically for add-ins. Yes, Hong. If you use jQuery or JS Link, so you have each web part, especially the forms. You have edit form, display form, and the new form. Everything will have a JS Link property because everything will be in a web part, right? So I can quickly show you here. So here I have a products list, right? And if I click on new item, this is going to be my web part, right? When you edit this, you always get JS Link property, and you can inject that and you can customize your forms. I hope that helps. Okay, guys, I'm stopping the session now. Thank you so much again for joining me. Bye. Have a good day.